Miserable sod.
What a way to start a podcast. There we go. There's Richard's honest opinion of me. So,
I actually quite enjoyed it.
quite enjoyed it. We were just discussing my enthusiasm for things and how if I was on a movie poster, it would be 9 out of 10. Wasn't that bad as a quote for the film. And actually, if I say it's all right, quite enjoyed it. In relation to a webinar I had with Rory Sutherland this week, which was also described as not that bad, which again means
you actually gave it higher praise than that. You actually said you actually quite enjoyed it, which is literally 12 out of 10. Not that that's possible. Let's not go down that route, but it's literally 12 out of 10.
That's up there though, isn't it? That's very enjoyable in my honest opinion.
He's good though. I like him. I watch a lot of his content. He's very interesting.
He is very interesting.
He talks about data quite a lot, doesn't he?
He does, and he did on the call this week as well, and how it's used or misused. And what example did he give?
You, or was that a question?
No, it was actually questions, and I think it was M&S he was talking about actually, and he was talking about how on some of their products they'd put like a gold leaf or gold label on it to make them look more, obviously, more luxury as a brand. And if you looked at it as a purely financial thing, the finance guys would have said no, because you're asking for like $100,000 to go and print all these boxes with gold on, which is more than a normal box. But if you also then said, we're going to sell X of them and each one is going to be worth 50p more than the normal version, therefore it adds up, and actually, logically speaking, you should do it. And a lot of what he was talking about was actually how, when you just look at something from numbers or you try to make sense of something, it doesn't work. But actually, your gut instinct or your feel about it working is it will work. And you might not be able to put a monetary value on some of it, but actually it does work from a kind of like a feelings or emotional connection with someone. They will look at something that says luxury, and if the box it's in is luxury and it's got gold on it and it looks nicer, you will ultimately you will pay more for what might be inside the same as the normal stuff.
Well, quite often is, right?
Quite often is, yeah. Same place, same product. It's probably no different to brands, isn't it? Where we know that they're all built and made in the same factory to the same standard, but I'll buy Fairy Liquid over Tesco washing up liquid because I think Fairy Liquid's better. And you're like, well,
you sure we're washing it?
So, yeah, well, I don't do that. It goes in the dishwasher now. Posh these days.
With Fairy Liquid.
With Fairy Liquid, just fill it, see what happens. It's fine. So yes, I've had it. It was an hour. I'm doing the course with him, and the course is it's like 9 hour-long sort of pre-record things where he takes you through step by step through marketing, and then there's 4 lives as part of it, and this was one of those. So get the chance to ask any questions and have him chat to you for an hour. It's quite good because he's so. It must be quite comfortable on the camera. He was just kind of like on his couch at home, almost lying back like this with one earplug, just chatting away. It was like you were just round his house having a cup of tea with Rory, sort of thing. No real formality or anything. I enjoyed it though. 11 out of 10.
Blimey, that is high praise, honestly.
High praise. He's a clever man.
It's very interesting. I do like a lot of his stuff. He does look at things in a very interesting way.
Yeah,
he said something like if you look at people or customers or prospects as like from a different perspective, you look at them as from like an alien race or I don't know. I can't remember the exact phrase. I'm butchering it, but he looked at it and went, then you'll understand what people buy, why people buy. You're taking yourself out of that demographic almost, and that's really really interesting way to look at it.
Yeah, I just reminded the other.
Lying on the couch with my feet up with one earplug plug in at the time.
No, maybe we should. Maybe we should be more relaxed than we are and move ourselves around. But I think he gave the example as well of AO, the guys who do like all the fridges and ovens and stuff. and every van, I don't know if they still do, but every van did have like a stack of AO teddies in it, teddy bears. And if they deliver to a house with a kid, they leave one of the teddy bears.
Mm.
And again, he was kind of like going from a financial perspective, you'd be looking at that going, absolutely not. You're spending X amount of pounds and we can't see the return, or we can't work out what the return of that is. And the owner basically going, yeah, but we're the only brand that also delivers all our own stuff as well. So it's something none of our competitors can do. They can't say to DHL, deliver this fridge, and by the way, if there's a kid there, drop off one of our teddies as well. It's almost impossible to do. So you were talking about obviously how you differentiate yourself from that, but actually you can't then say, I almost like want a financial model to justify the spend. The owner's just going, it's something we can do. It feels right. It feels like we get some loyalty from that, but don't ask me to give you a document with a set of figures in it that says what the return of.
Well, not beforehand, but certainly during and afterwards you could.
You could, yeah, further down. But no one's going to say,
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
I bought from you again because you gave us a teddy bear last time.
Yeah, you could capture that though, couldn't you?
You could see if there was a factor in it, or whether they looked at it because of how they were treated. But
I think
yeah.
as well, it's like if DHL did it, then when you could just ask them, when you throw the package over the fence, can you throw this teddy bear as well if you see a child?
Yeah, or if Every delivered it, you could say, when you deliver my parcel to the wrong address, could you also
2
leave?
days late, can you also leave a teddy bear, please?
Could you also leave a teddy bear there as a reminder? Take a photo of someone else's doorstep and send it to me, saying this is where your parcel is, and I'll try and figure out where in the neighbourhood it could be.
You might think it's safe, but it's no longer there.
No, we did have one delivered down the road once, and the photo, I went on Google Maps to try and find which house it had been delivered to, because it had like a very specific bit of brickwork next to the steps up to the front door. And I was like, well, there can't be many around here that have got that. And it turned out it was only like four doors down.
Walking around the streets looking at people's front of their houses going...
Yeah. I knew it was close because you could tell by the brickwork it was kind of one of our houses. I just didn't know which one. But yeah, tracked it down. It was around the corner.
So, would have been there.
But it turned out that their parents were round doing something. So the dad had obviously just opened the door, taken a parcel and chucked it in without looking at it. Hence why they accepted a parcel that wasn't for them. But anyway, enough of Rory. Rory's great. He makes enough money. But it is an interesting course. It's and you've got the opportunity to do an assessment piece with him as well. So there is a thing in there that says, I've not read it all, but you're the marketing agent for this company. This is what they do. How would you set it up, sort of thing? And then Rory marks it.
GPT.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll do that bit because I'm obviously not an actual marketer and need to know everything in it. But it's just nice to understand human psychology alongside what we do and how they operate and stuff. So yeah, enjoying that. Enjoy it. I'll give that a solid 8 out of 10 at the moment. Which on my scale again is very good.
That's like exceptional. It's top notch.
So anyway, enough about what I'm up to. Let's chat data. What are we going to cover off this week? What about it? Yeah. Boring, isn't it? Hey?
Boring, isn't it?
Boring, isn't it? What are we going to cover off this week, Richard?
What did I say? Businesses. Yeah, I think I've always been a little bit surprised, I suppose, when businesses issue profit warnings of the scale of like Fraser's Group this week, and I think it's ASOS did as well, and there's someone else I saw him earlier, Aston Martin, I think it was. You're like, surely, how do they have that capacity to be able to do that, to get to that point, for one? And how do they not know that's coming? Are they just severely over leveraged and committed to that they can't row it back quick enough to be able to prevent it? Or I don't know. I get it. Businesses, certain economic climate changes can suddenly transform everything and turn everything upside down. I get all of that. But for someone who, like Mr. Ashley, who is, a proven track record of being successful, for him, because he's expanded big style, hasn't he, in the last few years,
Yeah.
even now he's still going. And you think, is he gone one step too far? Has he pushed it a bit too close to the wind? Because he always took risks, but
Well,
and you have. So it's just I'm intrigued as to why companies of such stature suddenly get into that situation. I suppose.
I didn't realise Debenhams was still a thing till the other week.
Is it?
Yeah, I got an email. It's online only. So he
That thing
obviously
as well.
bought. Yeah, so he obviously bought them. I'm sure he bought them. He bought House of Fraser, didn't he?
Yeah.
So I'm sure he bought Debenhams, but basically bought the name and turned it into an online only store.
Hmm.
So presumably they're just dealing out of a warehouse somewhere or multiple warehouses and operating a bit more like Amazon. But yeah, I thought they'd gone completely, but only in physical form. But it's interesting because I know we'll get around to tenuous links at some point, but you would kind of think that even if you've had to say up front, kind of this year we'll make £500 million, that your tracking of that almost day by day in one of those businesses would be incredibly precise.
Well, that's the
And
point. It's like
and
how do they get to that stage where it
yeah,
is that
and funny
much
enough,
more?
you reminded me in the entrepreneur circle that I'm a member of. We had a session last week, and Nigel, who runs that, he loves his worm. He always goes on about his worm graph, and it's basically nicked from cricket. So obviously, if you're watching a cricket game and you'll see a line graph that goes up, it shows you where every wicket was taken. You can
Mm.
very quickly see how the opposition are doing against your
Yeah.
score, whether they're close or miles behind or ahead at any point, which you couldn't do before those were in. You had to kind of guess that, okay, they're on 250 for 5 off 40 overs, but what does that mean? Are they close or not? The worm chart kind of gives you that picture, but he obviously uses it from a numbers perspective. So he's very much, this is where you want to get to. This is that broken down over your 12 months. You can adjust it for you going on holidays and things where you're not going to get leads or not doing stuff. This is what it looks like. And then he's like, literally just track against that every single month. You will always know whether you're behind where you want to be or ahead of where you want to be. And it's almost, I know when it's retail and stuff, it's a lot more complicated because there's returns and things like that. But ultimately, you should have some kind of tracker that says almost month one, yeah, we're behind where we want to be. Month two, we're still behind. Therefore,
Mm.
whether we can catch up later or not, we're constantly behind the curve. And it can't be that difficult to put in place. Even if you're adjusting for all the other things, you can still take like an average baseline throughout all of that and say this is roughly where we need to be at.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I've always found it quite. I get that some companies they get so big that compiling this all is not like a 5 minute job unless they have a proper system in place. But you'd think that they would have the mechanisms to be able to get a good shot at this, right? A good
yeah,
awareness of this, even down to the day by day, at the least, where you
yeah,
are. And I don't know, I've always found, like I said, I understand things, businesses go bust and companies, I get all that, they get themselves in trouble, but it's always, I'd never, what, it's just if they get into a profit war and they're at a point where there is a big problem, major problem going on, that you're thinking, oh, it's quite a thing. They're not going to, it hasn't just suddenly gone, boom, typically,
yeah,
has it? It's kind of gone, maybe. That's,
yeah,
so I don't know whether it's that. And again, I guess it's the reaction to that, isn't it? So somebody like Mike Ashley's probably thinking he'll just blast his way out of it by buying up more brands and just taking up more market share. I guess he's possibly,
Yeah.
I don't know his
Or
business, his process, but
yeah, or you kind of got the other side, haven't you? Of are there decisions that needed to be made that just weren't being made because people weren't either comfortable making the decision or weren't empowered to make it or
mm,
anything else, and therefore you're watching a catastrophe unfold, but knowing that you're not in a position to do anything about it, or almost as scared to do anything about it. And even on a much smaller scale, you see projects and stuff. I've seen projects go massively off the wall, and everyone just kind of plodding on as if, well, we'll just carry on to the end because that's what the plan was. And you're thinking, but you're going to end up in a shitstorm because you haven't done half the things that you needed to have
you
done.
swore, you swore this week.
You did it on the first line of the opening sentence of the podcast. So
It wasn't a swear.
so we were. I was already covered. I was already having to put a warning in. But you know what I mean? But people don't feel like they're then empowered to make those decisions or make those choices or step in, even if very obviously you can see what's happening is going wrong. And if you've put a lot of money into something, and projects again are the same, you've put a big amount of money into a project delivery, you can still end up almost just going through the motions of delivering it, knowing that the end result's not going to be what you want it to be. And it takes someone who is empowered, sort of trusted, delegated to, or has authority to make decisions, or at least be able to present the right questions to the board or to the directors for decisions to be made for them. But again, if you're asking the wrong questions or you're looking at the data in the wrong way, then again you could land yourself in quite serious trouble. And we'll go. I think was it last one we talked about the aeroplanes in World War II, the model of the ones with the shot out wings that came back, and it was very easy to look at that and go, they're the bits we strengthen. Until someone pointed out that actually they're the ones that have come home, therefore it's the ones who are shot in the other bits that aren't. And some of that is, I think, again, a lack of understanding of how to interrogate the data, even if you're collecting it on that daily basis and being able to understand what it's actually telling you, or
Also,
whether you just ignore
maybe a
it.
factor of assumptions as well. Just assuming. Same with the airplane scenario. They're just assuming that that's on face value. That's the thing that needs to be dealt with. But in reality, it's not. And that's is there an element of complacency in a lot of this as well, and just ignoring what the information's going out. It might be Christmas soon, and then it's like, well, yeah, but is that going to get you out of the hole? I mean, it is. Just. I think that's maybe. I don't know. I don't know their process or concept, but it just makes me ponder
But
in
it's
my maturing years to go, I wonder how it gets like that. I don't.
But then you've probably seen in the news as well with like councils and stuff, the amount that have gone bust.
Mm,
And I mean, Thurrock, what they owe is ridiculous. Croydon's was massive. Birmingham got themselves into a mess with these projects and equal pay. And again, you're going, if you're looking at some of that, you're going, at some point, someone should have gone, we need to stop this because we're going downhill rapidly. And again, if you haven't got the insight or the knowledge or the what's the word, the power to say something or to stop something, you're in a world of trouble. And if it's run by someone who's I'm not saying Ashley is, but if it's run by someone who's a bit more dictatorial than you would like.
I wonder where you were going to go there for a second.
Yeah, I'm going dictatorial. Very strong in their own opinions very strong in their own opinions of where they want to take something. Then it can be quite hard and quite difficult. But I mean, Thurrock, you're talking hundreds of millions of pounds, but you must have been able to look at that at some point and gone, when you got to 20 million, do you not think you should have gone, you should probably stop this? Or are you then just chasing
I
the
calculate
loss
this
of
much plus the minus, and then it's like minus, and then minus, and then maybe. Do you know what? We'll just carry on. Doesn't
yeah.
matter. It's not
We've
our money.
invested in this now, so let's just keep investing because it will sort itself out. As opposed to we've invested in this, but we actually need to stop it now before it gets too bad. And I'm going to get I'm not going to get angry comments because no one listens to it anyway. But the few people who do listen might get angry. But you always see those programs, don't you, where they're on the crap channels on Sky and that, where it's like
Crap channels.
someone who's got up to like £600 and they're now at home and it's like I can't get out of my house. I need to struggle, and they're sat there going, I need help. And I'm sure it's Ricky. Was it Ricky Gervais? Someone did a comedy routine and they went, at which point did you think, right, I'm a bit heavy now, sort of thing, and I should stop? And they've almost got to the point of I can't do anything about it to then stop and go, actually, now I need to make choice. And you're like, but at £350, you were clearly incredibly heavy and you needed to do something about it. At 280, you were. But what didn't trigger you to say, actually, at this point, I need to stop and get help? What took you all the way to 600? And
Or a profit warning.
yeah, and it's that kind of, I know it's a loose analogy, but it's that kind of thinking, isn't it, in the business of almost, well, actually, it's not so bad. It's not so bad. Oh, shit, we're on fire, sort of thing.
Is it a case that someone else is, they're waiting for someone else to solve the problem, and there's not a joined up thinking or a joined up decision to think, actually, we need to deal with this. This is a big problem. And I guess that depends on the sway of things, on the perception of data, the perception of what the information they're seeing, the bias, dare I say.
Yeah.
And if one person's going, no, it's fine, it'll be fine, we're going to do this, that, and the other, and if well, it's not fine, then we need to deal with it. Is it the case that there's too much of that and not enough of that? And
I think there is.
By the way, that's the international sign of doing,
and
that's the international sign of chatting.
But there's a lot of
meetings about meetings rather than actually just make the fucking decision.
Yeah.
I've sworn now.
You've done it, but that's the key point, isn't it? It's the decision making is being able to actually make a decision. And I used to joke a little bit with the guys at Serco when I worked in Peterborough, and they'd turn up to me with like 2 bits of paper and go, "Here's 2 options that we can do to fix so and so." And I'd be like, "Okay, which one's best?" And they go, "This one." It's like, "We'll do that one then." They'd be like, "Oh, thanks, Richard, you're great." And it's like, I haven't done anything. You've come to me with the problem and the solution twice and just said, which one should I do? And I've agreed with you. But because someone else
written that up and sent an email covering your ass.
Yeah, but because someone else has made the decision for them, it was almost like, well, you're great at this. And it's like, I'm not doing anything. I've been empowered to say yes or no to stuff.
Did you refuse their adulation then?
Well, no, I made them buy me stuff, and Christmases and birthdays and Mondays and Fridays and stuff. They had to get me presents and gifts for being so useful for them. But
or so amazing, as you say.
Or so amazing. Thank you for choosing the option that I told you to choose.
You had a bit of artistic license in that story.
Yeah, a little bit. I never got thanked once. But it was almost like annoying that they would come to you because it's like, you know the answer and you know what the best route to do is. You know what decision you need to make. You're just not allowed to. And I know it's silly in a way, but they were on a different floor to me. They had to come downstairs, walk across. It's only 5 minutes, but I might be on the call or doing something. Might have to wait 10 minutes. Then they speak to me and we go, well, just do the one that you were going to do anyway, and then back upstairs. And you could kind of lose, 20 minutes, half an hour of someone's day just to come and ask me if it was okay if they did the thing that they thought they should do in the first place, just so my name was at the bottom of the bit of the paper.
Right, yeah. Accountability.
So it's fine. Well, it doesn't matter actually, because when you outsource the expertise. So my signature on a bit of paper was irrelevant to anything that they did. So they didn't have any get out clauses at all. I'm not sure they knew that, but I worked with someone who understood contracts incredibly well, and he used to explain it all to me and how it worked. So, yeah, they thought they were arse covering, and they were not.
In fact,
So
your ass was well and truly covered the whole
it
time.
was already covered, so we were good. But some people just don't like making decisions, and they find it hard, or they don't like the pressure, and sometimes it's the people at the top don't allow you to make decisions. There's too many tiers. So I think if you look at any organisation, whether it's a business or kind of public sector, they all end up in some kind of pyramid tier of authority, doesn't it? Of everyone down here who is kind of on the shop front knows the reality and knows what's happening, but the message to their manager is slightly filtered. That manager to that manager is filtered again, and that manager to the chief exec is filtered. So the chief exec thinks everything wonderful, and everyone on the front line is saying how shit it is. And you almost like have this Chinese whisper
Well, this goes back
kind
to
of game.
the whole reporting thing as well. It's the concept of the reporting, where actually, from a business intelligence reporting perspective, people that actually doing the tasks operationally day in day out are far better to create and define operational metrics than people in ivory towers that don't have a
Yeah,
Scooby Doo what goes on day to day. They're better at making strategic metrics, but then you need to connect the operational metrics with the strategic metrics for it all to make sense. But then you've created that kind of map framework up and down. But too often it's like this is what we need to hit, and that kind of is prescribed all the way down the organisation. And there's someone at the front end that actually doing the tasks that need to be done, looking at it and go, that's just bullshit. What does that even mean? I don't even
yeah,
understand. Whereas actually, if you go, well, that's crap. What we need to do is measure this or look at that. We've got a problem. There's so much of that kind of disappears, isn't it? It's that story about I don't know if I mentioned this before, where is it the toothpaste tube factory, where they spent a fortune on, they kept wastage was too
yeah,
high. They were sending out empty boxes or something was empty tubes or there's something about that. And they were going, God, I went through this took projects after project and process trying to understand why they kept having this problem. And then they noticed, I think it was that they noticed 1 month that it completely stopped. And they're like, well, how's it been solved? How's it been fixed? And it was someone on the shop floor had put a fan or something
yeah.
next to
And it
the
was blown
fluxing
up.
line, and it was blowing them off if they were empty. And you're going,
Yeah,
it's a perfect example of being able to engage and sit and work out rather than someone going, oh, we need to deal with this. Let's set up a point. Let's go down this path, through that path. Let's make that decision. And
yeah,
that, do you actually know what that process is? Well, no. Well, then how can you define how to change it if you don't know what it is?
yeah. And you, likewise, if you're doing reports and reporting up and having to go, this is how my team's performed. You spin that as best as you can, don't you, into all the positives and everything else. So odd numbers will come out and various other bits, and you're presenting a favourable kind of version of what's actually happening.
Mm.
And again, I've seen that happen loads of times where you look at a report and genuinely think this does not reflect what I'm hearing or what I'm listening to when I go and speak to people who actually work there.
Yeah.
And you do wonder, don't you, how much data kind of the top tier are looking at? Are they looking at daily amounts, weekly amounts, anything that's coming through, or are they just taking a glorified report that's been written for them to butter them up and tell them how great they are and how well their company is doing, rather
Mm.
than something that, all right, you might not want to hear it, but you need to hear it because this is the direction we're going in, which allows you to step in
Is there a
earlier and at the
danger?
right time.
Is there a danger of certain elements being gatekeepers of the reality? So what's the right
Yeah,
word? Reality, truth. Truth's a bit strong, but maybe not. Is it the core information is being kind of gatekept? I'm making up words now.
get
Being
kept.
gatekept in a way so that message is kind of bent
Yeah.
into a manner rather than just going, here it is. If you don't like it, tough shit, but it's the reality of what's going on, and that's what you need to be dealing with, not some flowered up report that somebody takes bits out
Yeah.
and then you put certain bits in.
Yeah, I believe so. And I think it happens not just in business. I think it happens across the public sector as well. I've been involved in reports that have taken weeks to write, rewrite, reprofile, change the word in, and it's all to make something look a lot more pleasant and a lot better than it actually is. And you just want to sit there and go, can you not just tell them what's actually happening? Because that's the bit they probably need to know, whether or not you're going to get in trouble or you're going to get moaned at or anything. Just deal with that. You're a senior manager for a reason. So yeah, we went quite deep there, Richard, for a topic we knew nothing about. That was good.
Oh, we didn't know we were going to talk about it, did we?
No. We didn't even get onto my
It's because we're skilled podders.
skilled. We didn't even get onto Jaguar. Mind yourself.
What do you mean? Jaguar, or should I say
Jaguar. Another company that was probably in serious trouble because no one under the age of about 55 buys their cars.
Now they're not going to. No one's going to buy them.
I personally think they've done the right thing. I quite liked what they did because I just think, as a company, I mean, I don't know anyone that's got a Jag or would own a Jag or wants Jag or want, and that's part of the problem. Wants to own a Jag, even when they bought that crap one. Was it the X Type they bought out? That was basically a Ford Mondeo years ago.
Basically, Ford Mondeos.
Yeah,
Aston Martin, is it they Renault engines or something stupid?
Yes, and they've never really shaken some of that, and it's like a lot of people getting offended by it who would never buy one anyway. But ultimately,
no. People getting offended for something that doesn't affect them.
Something that doesn't apply to them. I know it's ridiculous, isn't it? But you could probably see in the next 10 years Jaguar sales plummeting off the edge of a cliff if they don't do something. Because let's be honest, the population that would buy one are getting older and older, and the younger people coming through aren't looking at those types of cars as much.
Can't afford the insurance on a car, can they?
Well, exactly. But if they're making a shift towards electric, which most people are doing these days, then at some point they have to go bold and make a big jump.
Bold.
So, I mean, it got
I'm not sure how that helps, but yes.
Got people talking, didn't it? Who was chatting about Jaguar 2 weeks ago? No one. Exactly. A couple of old people in a pub who were still trying to buy a paper copy of Auto Trader. Yeah. Golf club in the boot. Nice S-Type. Driving at 40 and a 30, but then 40 and a 70. Because
Don't get me started. You should be around here, mate, if you want to go down that route. Holy Christ, it is literally... I'm only going to drive as fast as I'm comfortable with. Well, bugger off somewhere else, because this is a dual carriageway.
Yeah. Doesn't matter what the speed limit is. This is the speed I like to drive at.
Yeah, 38 up to on the national speed limit single road. Get to a roundabout before dual carriageway. 38 around the roundabout because I ain't stopping for nobody, and then 38 on the other side on dual carriageway.
Brilliant.
Flat line.
So yeah, I like what they did anyway. They had to do something as far as I'm concerned, but there we go. And not enough time to chat about Sir Bobby Robson.
I'm just intrigued as to how much someone got paid to come up with that logo.
Oh, it's thousands and thousands and thousands, but
they probably canvassed it anyway.
Yeah, some of the ones
allegedly.
Don't
want to get sued.
You see some of them, don't you? That the rebrand and they give you the new badge, and they've literally gone from light blue to dark blue. Or something it's cost them $100,000, and you're like, brilliant.
150 grand, the 6-month project.
Yeah, and then someone writing a nice piece about how it represents the 1930s when the company first started, or something. It's like, didn't Man City change their badge?
And they changed it back again, yeah.
And then they changed it back again, yeah. So yeah, maybe that's
That's what I talk about.
Maybe that's the career we need to get into, Richard.
What, badge design?
Badge design. So,
Sure.
you know,
I'm about as artistic as a elephant. I am terrible. I'm literally awful. So probably not best for me.
I did A-level art, so I'm going to say I'm a little bit
Yeah.
artistic. I'm just out of practice.
Why?
I was all right at it. And also, when I chose my A levels, I worked backwards. So I worked on the basis of what subjects am I not doing. No, I worked backwards on what subjects am I not doing. And when I've crossed all of those ones out, there wasn't many left to choose from. So I ended up doing art, geography, and biology, which is a quite strange mix. But
It obviously stood you in good stead, didn't it?
oh, it's been perfect. But I was good at art because in the lower six, when I first started the lower six, I broke my leg playing rugby in about the second or third week of term. And so I spent all the term basically in the art check painting. And my art teacher hated it because the minute my leg was mended, I basically never went back in again. I went back playing sport. And he used to get really frustrated. So I think my first piece I got 80 odd, I think I got something like 89% for or something. You'd like it actually, Richard. It's a 6 foot tall self portrait. It's massive. I think my mum still got it in a garage somewhere. But it scored massive, and then like every other piece scored really low because I just didn't put any time.
Representation.
Yeah. If as a 16-year-old I had worked out as much as Arnold Schwarzenegger had, it was a true representation. Otherwise, some might say
Michelangelo lens.
Some might say the muscular physique within the picture was not 100% accurate.
That's 100%. Okay.
But I'd say it was down to the lighting. That's what I'm going with.
Always to the lighting.
So, yeah, there's a little bit of artistry in there, but I just don't get to do it anymore. Don't have the time. So, but anyway, it's Christmas. We're off.
Ho, 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 and all that.
Ho, ho, ho. We'll have a break for a couple of weeks and we'll come back in the new year, potentially with some guests.
You never know.
You never know.
I'm not sure I can get pop stars, though. I know you suggested pop stars, but I'm not sure. That's a bit of a stretch. I don't know any.
Well, when I got poo-pooed at bringing in data people on a data podcast, I thought, well, where are we going with it then?
Poo-pooed? I just thought it'd have a different slant of people's perception of data that aren't in the data industry. There was a reason for it. And you went pop stars. And I'm like, well, I don't think Taylor Swift's going to be that interested. And frankly, I wouldn't want her on her anyway.
I think you'll find she's heavily into data and business intelligence.
Yeah. She's heavily into making a shitload of money.
Yeah, that's why, because she watches that every day going up and up and up. So,
Spotify Wrapped. Oh, yes.
Spotify Wrapped. My son's got my account, so mine's terrible. Can't even share mine. A lot of American rappers on mine.
I've not even looked at mine.
So, okay, well, have a good break. Yeah, have a good break, and we'll chat again.
We don't now have to talk to each other until the new year, so which is what
perfect.
I quite happily spoke about earlier. So you miserable sod, which explains the miserable sod at the beginning of the thing.
Just keep liking each other's posts on LinkedIn, and we'll be fine.
You're commenting appropriately.
Commenting inappropriately on everyone's posts. So, right, mate. Have a good Christmas, and I shall speak to you soon.